This is Mike. This is at Highland Hill Farm, and these are some green giants that we've been growing. This unfortunately has not been trimmed this year, so we're going to show you how to trim a tree that hasn't been trimmed this year. And this is a green giant. It's been in the ground now for maybe 2 years, I would say, maybe 3. I can't remember exactly when we planted it. But we're going to trim it here today. First thing, when we take a look at it, we notice that there is a couple things that are going to be issues, like this little guy here is coming up. Not major, but something we do have to identify. That'll be a second leader. And you can see this branch over here is definitely an oddity. It's a very strong branch, so I'll have to take that back. Other than that, everything else on it's pretty good. We still have our single leader, which I really like to see in our trees. When we start on these guys, what we'll do is we're going to try to shoot it back into shape. And it's not going to be a saleable plant when we get done with it, but maybe next year at the end of the year it will be. So when we start, we're going to go real hard on that one branch that we saw that was pretty big, so that it's knocked back into shape of the tree that we want to do. If we have heavy snow this year and we don't trim it, what happens sometimes is the branches grow out too large, and when the snow comes down, it gets too much weight on the branch and breaks the branch off. We'll have structural damage. That's why we need to take these guys off. If you're down south, like in Florida or Georgia, you don't have to worry about it, but if you're up in Pennsylvania, New York, that's something you'll have to definitely notice when you're trimming. Now we're going back through. We're going to knock this guy down a little hard, because that's a second leader coming up, and I really do not like them, so we hit them a little bit harder. And we're just going to go around. We're going to trim it up into shape. It's a little bit small of a shape for a final cut, but we're going to knock this guy back a little. And the reason we're hitting this guy back is we don't want too much growth on the terminal. We want the growth to come out and be an equal, nice growth all the way around the tree. So we're going to go around and trim towards the bottom of it. And we're making our shape as we go around. I know it looks like we're cutting off a lot, but what we're doing is we're making the shape, and we're going to have the tree into a nice form. And when people come back next year, it's going to be a number 1, or it probably will be a number 1. I don't think it could be a number 2. So we have our tree. It has been trimmed on each one of these. It'll make it thicker and fuller all the way around. We do have a fairly good shape to it, which is what I like to see. And next year, when we come back out, all these little growths in through here are going to come out. It's going to be real nice, thick, and full. And it should be a fairly good-looking green giant Arborvitae. Now you can see the one right next to it. This is what happens when you don't trim the terminal, and you get these 3-4 foot of growth in 1 year. It's just there's a lot of growth in one direction, but it's not real wide. It's not that like 5 feet to 3 foot dimensions that people like to see in spruce trees. So it's a little bit thinner than we like. So we're going to go through and we're going to trim a little bit more of the top, so that it's not going to be so thin as far as at the top. We're going to make it so that it's a little bit thicker of a plant. And we're going to go through and trim these side branches off a little bit. What this is going to do is it's going to encourage all this interior and through here to come out, and it'll be a thicker, fuller plant in towards the center of the tree. And that's where a lot of the visual block is going to be. And now again, we're going to go through. We're going to try to make our angle to the best of our ability. This one here, since it wasn't trimmed too much, our angle is not going to be as apparent as maybe as that one will be. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to shape it into the shape that we're imagining that we want the tree to be at the final look. Now, many people, when they go through, they don't want to trim towards the bottom because they want the bottom to be as thick and full as possible. But for us, when we're selling trees, we try to make it into like a cookie cutter shape. That each tree that comes out, it's got to be about the same shape. So when we do that, we always have to trim the bottom so that each tree is equal in width on the bottom. So like that's just the reasoning for us. If you don't want to trim the bottom, you don't have to trim the bottom, but I do because I like to try to get as uniform of a plant as possible. So we're going to continue to go through and cut the tree all towards the bottom, making sure the shape is right. If you see sometimes there's little guys like that in the center, do cut those. That is a branch that will come out the other side. And after we've done that, that's basically all that I am looking for. We have our central leader. There's no secondary leaders coming off. All the branches to the side have been cut. We have lots of spots where new growth can come off. We have one little hole right here, but since we've trimmed all this up, these guys here should fill that in probably by the next year. We'll have a really nice looking tree there for next year.
Give us a call at Highland Hill Farm for your trees and shrubs. 215-651-8329. We ship from Fountainville, PA, Milan, PA, Lenore, North Carolina, and McMinnville, Tennessee. Thank you.